Welcome. So, this has been a tough year without any doubt. I hope your families and you are doing well and staying safe and being responsible people. Let's squash the beast and get this thing out of here. Kill it. It's killing all of us. I know we all want to be together, and I miss everybody so much. So, for me, looking back, which is something I really don't do a whole lot because I move forward. Um, but looking back at how the year started, um, this was going to be a huge year for me. It already was off to a big kickstart. Um, I had a huge grand opening planned for March 15th. And I had worked so hard on that. It was the biggest promotion in my 30-year career that I had ever done. And I was already seeing it pay out. People were paying attention. I had closed down my studio in February before all this nonsense happened. And I was generating a buzz and this whole thing and promotion for my reopening. So it was exhausting. Like I tore apart my whole studio. I redid everything. And that weekend, I had to make the right decision and shut down. As optimistic as I wanted to be, it just wasn't going to happen. The whole country was shut down at that point, and I had to close the doors. And my first thought at that point was, oh my God, I'm dead. I'm dead. I'm done. I'm a luxury item. That's how I felt at the time. And people were freaking like, who's going to be buying art in the middle of all this? So, yeah, it was a rough couple weeks. Nobody really knew what to do. Um, Everything became still, like everything. Small businesses got kind of caught up in this riptide and were just frozen in time. Businesses became quiet. Um, Businesses that I always kind of follow because I respect how they practice and consider them the big dogs. Like everybody just really just everything stopped. Um, so we'll get back to you know the aftermath, but the initial shock was huge, and unfortunately, I know everybody needs to make their money. Landlords became very uncomfortably quiet. Businesses were begging for help, and yet they still had overhead and were expected to pay these bills that nobody knew how long this was going to last at the time. I think a lot of us were so hopeful um, that it was just a thing, but clearly it's not. We're at the end of 2020, and you know I I don't have any regrets. I don't look back and say, oh my God, my life was ruined by this. It was changed by this. Um, so there was a panic. My first thought was, oh my God, I'm dead. And I heard that echo through so many other small business owners and artists. Nobody thought they had any value. But what I found was, yeah, we do. Because immediately people were put in isolation. And where do you think they were going? They were going online. So it became more accessible for a small business to be able to reach their people. It did become harder to find new people. So that's a thing that I struggle with all the time. because there are no more art shows, there are no more exhibits, there's no more, um, people coming into my studio and starting up that conversation. Um, you know, it's a lot more difficult now to find out where your people are and how to reach them. So, um, yeah, there was a panic. I had to finally make the decision to shut down my brick and mortar studio before the overhead sucked me dry. Like, I spent what, like 4 or 5 months paying rent on a space that was completely, I couldn't use it. Um, so I dodged a bullet there, because I look at it in hindsight, and I actually was talking to a friend yesterday, um, about the fact that I would have done anything to stay at that studio, but um, I couldn't get assistance. I'm not eligible for any financial aid. I was completely on my own with my own finances. Um, so if I had been able to get financial aid, where do you think that money would have gone? It would have gone right back into the studio, right back to the landlords, and I'd be still in the same situation that I was then. It just would have taken a little bit longer, and it would have used up all of my funds. So I'm really glad I got out when I did. Um, but now it's kind of like, where have all the artists gone? And how are people finding them? So I think that's a big struggle for all of us as artists, is how do we remain visible as visual artists, in a world where people can't access us. Like even the newspapers don't even have an art section anymore. So, I'd like to, hopefully in 2021, we can see ways where the publications and, the media are enabling people to, even if they can't do in-person events, hopefully um, the media will embrace us and continue to support the arts and of course small business. Everybody out there is struggling. So that was the beginning of 2020 in a nutshell. So have you ever watched a chipmunk run when it's gathering up its seed and taking it back to its nest to store for winter? So they they gather up what they can and they run full speed, and then they just stop. Like just for a second, they stop and they look and they look and they like bolt forward again, but they don't look back. They're looking at every possible avenue. They're sizing up their escape routes. They're taking it all in for that split second, and then they book back to their nest, but they don't look back. So very much like my year. I can't say that it hasn't been a struggle, but what I have gained from this, the silver lining to it, I'm constantly stopping and looking in new direction for different possibilities. And so all year long, like I busted my butt up until March to make that new beginning. And all of a sudden, screech, boom, up in smoke. So there went that idea. So I had to make a lot of decisions very quickly. But I still feel like I dodged a bullet by getting out of that brick and mortar studio, because all of my focus has always been into bringing people into my space and advertising the space and the building, and not just me. So um, it kind of made me take a step back and look around and say, okay, well, no, I'm not dead. My business is not dead. I've been in this over 30 years. This is all I do. Um, so there's no giving up. There's just finding a way to make it work out. So instead of putting all of my efforts into the space, I started looking at all of the other possibilities around me. And I have found so many other things in life to carry me forward in my business that I never would have pursued um, if I had still been comfortable in my studio and, still promoting the whole, facade of where I was at. It was a beautiful space. I've had plenty of really nice studios, but now it just kind of put things in a different perspective. I've been learning a few new languages. Um, I've been learning vector graphics. I've been learning SGV, wait a minute, SVG files. You see, I'm still learning. Um, I've been diving deeper into Photoshop, and these are things that are going to take me into a whole new market. So I'm excited with the things that I'm learning. I think vector graphics are so cool. I'm having a lot of fun exploring them, and I really hope I get a lot better at it very soon. I'm just starting to learn that. But these things are going to take me into a whole new market. So in March 2021, the same date that I was going to have my grand reopening in my brick and mortar studio, I'm going to be launching a new product. On top of my airborne creations, I'll have another business. So I never would have gotten into these things unless I was forced into it. And I think this is going to be a really exciting new path for me to take. I'll still be doing the custom painting, and then I have this whole other thing that I just can't wait to get into. I've got some equipment coming in a couple weeks that I'm going to start working with. So stay tuned. But that's exciting for me because it gives me more possibilities. I'm not just stuck saying, just focusing on this one thing or this one place. I can kind of, get out there in so many different ways. So, yeah. So I'm constantly brainstorming, for all of us, so many businesses, it's really hard to figure out, where am I going to find my clients if I'm not out there um, with my work, and without the exhibits, without the shows, without just being out there talking to random strangers, being able to hand them a business card. um, you know that's a real big challenge. um, it's not the same experience. Just this morning I was out in a Starbucks parking lot meeting a complete stranger to hand over a really special custom pet portrait in the middle of the winter, in the middle of a parking lot at Starbucks. That's, I'm living the thug life now. So, one of the things I'm looking for in 2021 is I'm still going to keep isolated from people because I don't mess around with this disease. It's a serious thing, and it's a shame that people are out there, um, not doing what they need to do to keep people safe. So for myself, there will be another studio when I feel it's comfortable to have a place to, you know, let people come in and be face to face. But until then, that's how it is. So for 2021, I'm looking into venues, not so much venues. I'm looking for property owners, and I think this is going to be a really interesting change for building owners, because they've already lost a lot of long term tenants. Like myself, I would have done anything to stay at my studio, but it clearly, there was no bend. Um, so, it's their building. I'm a tenant. I had a choice. I made it, and I think I made the best choice. But I think it's going to be really interesting to see what happens with all these properties in 2021, because now that so many people are working at home, um, I think there's going to be a huge shift in how places are rented out. So, one of the things I'm looking at is I'm not going to be having in person exhibits, but I will still be looking for um, some empty storefronts, empty, cool little loft areas, whatever you call them, where I can just rent it for maybe a week and do a number of exhibits, like I did when I left my last studio. I did 5 exhibits um, in a week on, all recorded, 5 different exhibits, which was great. I'm so glad I thought of that because it carried me through the year. So I'm going to be looking for the same thing in 2021, and get out there and approach a few building owners and say, hey, look, your building's been sitting here empty. You lost a long-term tenant, and my battery's running low. So I'm going to wrap this up anyway. So I will continue to do the Saturday showcases. I'll continue to do the virtual demos, and keep on doing regular video for the next couple weeks. I'm just going to kind of take it easy, and focus on studying SGV and vector graphics and that kind of stuff, and really get into that. So I'm an artist. That's what I do. I've survived so many changes in my career that, I can't look back. I can't get angry. There's no time to regret anything that I might have lost. The little chipmunk in me is going to keep harvesting those seeds so I can live comfortably, and, no matter how fast I have to run, to be able to manage my business and keep afloat. So I hope you all had a great holiday and have a great new year. Stay safe, and I will see you in 2021. Take care.